I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Hollister Airport Advisory Commission for Wednesday, January 24th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we get a roll call? Chairperson Renee Wells is here. Vice Chair John Hughes.
Present.
Commissioner Eric Martin.
Yep.
Airport Director, Executive Secretary Jeff Creshew.
Yes, I'm here.
No absent. Verification of agenda posting. The agenda for the Airport Advisory Commission of the City of Hollister meeting of January 24, 2024 was posted on the bulletin board at City Hall on January 19, 2024 at 10 a.m. per Government Code Section 54954.2. Do we have any public input?
Yes, Mark Sterrett.
Mark Sterrett.
Good evening, everyone. Quick history lesson about the Airport Commission. A lot of you might remember the lovable Robbie Scatini. He was on the Airport Commission for many years. Then he got elected to City Council. And about that time, the Airport Commission was getting a little inquisitive and stuff like that, asking about why is this airport money always going downtown. Well, Robbie decided to disband the Airport Commission. And it was shut down for quite a few years. I'm glad to see we're back up and operating. A little while ago, when we had Mike Chambliss as our airport manager, there was uncovering a $1.7 million loss due to his actions. We started seeing our meetings canceled time and time again, and lo and behold, he snuck out the back door and got a job with the county. I don't want us to have to face that again. I hope our Airport Commission stays strong. I've got a couple items that I would like to see agendized. One is the Black Hawk helicopter landing pad. They gave us a demonstration. The demonstration proved not to be as they promised. They moved over on another part of the airport, damaged a few airplanes. Now we got them out where they can't hurt anybody. Jeff seems to think that it takes them longer to get out there, but actually if they do what they were supposed to do when they were on the original pad and taxied out to the runway, it's going to take them just as long to drive out and to where they are now and take off. So I'd like to have it agendized and get a real discussion before they build that concrete pad, because once they do that, we're stuck with them. The other thing I'd like to, every time we brought up anything that would be considered favoring us as pilots at the airport, we would be stopped and told we can't do that, the conflict of interest. But I think we really need to have an agenda on the airport hangar rents. And Jeff has already said that he didn't like Mike Chambliss' survey. I didn't like his survey. I could prove all kinds of fallacies with it. But Jeff wants to do another report, and I think it'd behoove us if we can find some of our local people to get together and do our own report, because I don't think we need an increase in rents, and I think if a report's done correctly, we'll see a decrease in rents. Yeah. The last thing I would say is I think we ought to consider that any non-pilot not be allowed to cross the runway. And that's all I'm going to say on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments?
No. Nope.
This is the time for anyone in the audience to speak on any item not on the agenda and within the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission. So if you have anything you want to speak on, just fill out a speaker card. There's some available in the hallway, and there might be some over here. So if there are none other, then we'll move on. Okay, I guess there aren't any. We'll move on to consent items. Do I have a motion to approve the December 7, 2023 minutes of the Airport Advisory Commission special meeting?
Make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Approved. Commission business, report out by staff on the removal of the old military buildings. Jeff?
Notes here.
Okay.
Yes, so hopefully the commissioners are all familiar with the buildings that we're talking about there. They're just to the north of the airport offices, kind of north of the restaurant. So we had an estimate a couple of years ago of about $362,000 for demolition and removal due to the hazardous materials that are contained within the buildings. And so we will be covering another agenda item here, an overview of our budget. There's a $1 million appropriation. It was anticipated that inside that $1 million appropriation, we would go out to RFP and then get our submittals from contractors to do the demo and removal. But as you're going to hear tonight in the budget discussion, the cash position of the enterprise fund, it's likely that we're going to hold off on excess expenditures, so the $1 million improvements will be probably put on hold for the time being.
Has there been any discussion about applying for brownfield grants or other grants to remove those old buildings?
Yes, there has been some discussion of that, and I was provided some information to start researching the brownfield grant opportunities. The city uses a consultant that helps us with submitting grants, so the next step for me to do is to talk with them and see what their take on the brownfield grant and whether it's applicable or not.
Okay, thank you. Does any other commissioners have any other questions about the removal of the buildings?
What exactly are the hazardous materials? Is it just asbestos?
Asbestos and lead paint is the two
Oh, the
major,
two?
yeah.
Any other questions? Next item is update on the commission bylaws.
Yes, so you may remember that the changes requested by the commissioners was enacted and approved by the city council. What you have now is a fresh set of the second amended bylaws, and those were just some consistency amendments by the city clerk to make them consistent with other commissions in the city. So nothing of any significant contextual changes.
Thank you. Just so everyone in the audience knows, the bylaws were amended by the commission and approved by the city council to allow for 2 commissioners to live within the county rather than in the city, as previously noted in the bylaws, so that we could have at least 5 commissioners on the commission. So hopefully we've received applications, and that's another item on the agenda later. Next item on the agenda is the HAA building that had some water damage.
Yes, so the city has gone out and had is making an insurance claim on this due to suspected hazardous materials. We expect that there's mold in there, and through the insurance claim, then they will do the remediation work. So It's currently in process with the Administrative Services Department and City Manager's Office.
Do we have a time frame on when that will be repaired?
I do not have a time frame at this point.
Okay, we'll just continue to add it to the agenda so that we can continue to get updates. Thank
Okay.
you. Any other commissioners have any questions on that particular building? No? Okay, well, no? Okay. We'll move on to the next item, which is airport maintenance. Report out on airport maintenance by the airport director.
Yes. So two categories, topics I wanted to bring up under the maintenance was that we did move forward with equipment purchases this year in the budget. And so the airport has purchased a sweeper for the airport. That's been a very good tool for us to remove FOD in various areas. And with all the wet season coming here, we get mud on the taxiways and runways quite often. So it's an excellent tool for us. Excellent piece of equipment. It's not quite the size of a typical street sweeper, so that the maintenance staff can use it to go into hangars. So when the hangar's vacated, and they can use the vacuum system in it to clean the hangars out as well. So that's just FYI for the commission that we have a sweeper now. So.
And was there another piece of equipment purchased?
Yes, we did purchase a John Deere Gator. It's a diesel Gator. It has a cab and can seat up to 5 adults inside the cab. And that's because we felt that it's good to have that if we need to help people with disabilities to move around the airport, or if we're holding city events and helping to escort people from parking areas to the event, that sort of thing. So, very nice piece of equipment.
Can you just explain to me, since I don't know what a Gator is it like a four-wheel, like a
Yeah, it's
all-terrain vehicle?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Thank you. And are either of those pieces of equipment shared with the city, or is it just for airport specific?
It's for airport specific.
Great. Do any of the commissioners have any other questions on the topic?
So real quickly on airport maintenance, I have a second item to cover. And so just to let the commission know that, one of the things that we need to do as an airport is we've had several of the hangar buildings revert back to the airport in the last few years. And so we are needing to kind of take an inventory of what maintenance challenges we do have. But technically, or right now, the one priority issue that we're having is the building that DK Enterprises is in, or DK Turbines is in. That building is having issues with roof leaks. So when the rain happens, I've been inside the building and they've had up to 12 to maybe 15 catch buckets in different areas trying to keep up with the water coming through the roof. So we are working on gaining estimates right now. The city just updated its procurement policy, so it looks like we'll be able to move this forward fairly quickly through the city manager's office, which is a good thing. And it's below a certain threshold, so we don't have to go out to formal bid, which would add, time to deal with the issue.
Is there currently a tenant? Is DK Turbines in there?
Yes, they are
Okay.
in there. Mhm.
So, are they having issues with their airplanes, or it's just the?
So right now, the airplanes are there on not a regular basis. They come in for some scheduled work. Right now, the hangar area is fairly dry. It's mostly in their parts storage area and there is a leak in their office area as well. So, and then we're trying to improve some parking area for them so that they don't have to park on the apron.
Is that maintenance anything that airport staff can do, or is it something you definitely need to hire an outside?
In terms of the
Come in.
roof, you're talking about a pretty high roof, and it's 13,000 square feet of roof that we're looking at repairing. So there will be spot repairs of replacing any metal sheets that have complete failure, deterioration. And then they'll replace all the fastener screws with new gaskets underneath the screw. And then we're looking for a coating that would give us at least a 10-year warranty on the work.
Is there a possibility that either with this company that's going to come in and do those repairs, they can also spot check other hangars to make sure we don't have other issues? Or do the current staff at the airport do that kind of research?
Yeah, most of the time it's relying on the tenants to let us know they're having issues, but I'd like us to try to do something to try to do an inspection and get ahead of that in terms of our planning. Our budgetary situation is tight enough. We need to kind of know what steps we're going to be looking at over a period of time. So, and I'm aware that like some of the older T hangar buildings have leaks in them. So the coating product that we're looking at would be applicable to the steel roof. So that's an in-between cost component. It's less than replacing the roof with all new steel panels. So.
Is that particular hangar one of the older ones? Or are there other hangars that are along the same
I would say there's a couple other hangars that are in the same time frame. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you. I think it'd be great to have an inventory of the maintenance issues.
And technically, that's one building north of the Hollister Jet Center. So, the apron there.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Any questions from other commissioners?
Yeah, that coating that you're gonna use, have they specified what it's gonna be yet?
Seems like I've now gotten information from 2 different contractors, and it's just an industrial coating that there's different brand products. Mm-hmm.
Okay. On the OK building, you said it was mostly the office areas that are having the troubles with the leaks?
No, I would say the majority of the leak is actually in their part supply area, which...
Part supply, is that underneath the flat roof on the side there? Or is it on the upper roof?
No, so inside that building, you have hangar out front near the apron, and then they seem to have built up a loft area and set up shelves and stuff for a lot of part storage. So it's in the it's under the main hangar roof.
Okay.
Any other questions? No? All right. Thank you for that, Jeff. Let's move on to the 4th of July firework at the airport.
Yes, so in the second week of January, the airport staff and myself met with the city's recreation department. So we were getting a sense of kind of preliminary information about how many cars would they expect to be at the airport, and how many people they would expect to be at the airport. So now that I've got some of that baseline information, even though it's just kind of an objective opinion, now I will reach out to flight standards and talk to the FAA about, whether there's any issue with us trying to close the airport for a period of time for the show. That'll take coordination with CAL FIRE, and then a lot of coordination with the other city departments. So what we don't want to repeat is the fireworks show that was held out there a few years back. it seemed like the airport staff was left kind of on their own to try to control an awful lot of crowd movement and other things. So, so yeah, I think we're going to be able to be successful at this, and so we'll come back to you with another update as we get some more formalized policy on it.
Thank you. Any questions from other commissioners?
Yeah, what's the standard manpower to control those crowds? How many people do you need, like, for parking,
Yeah,
entries, exits, stuff like that, other than security?
yeah. Well, I would say just for parking alone, you'd probably want about 6 people parking, so that as people come into the airport, you're kind of directing them where you're going to fill them and whatnot, and where we would try to park anyone with any kind of disability or special needs. And depending on how many cars come, you got to anticipate maybe an overflow parking area, which would be accessed a little differently than the main area. So, and then once you take the individuals through the fence and they're in on the apron, then, you know, they need to remain contained in the area that you've cleared of aircraft and those types of things. So, we probably need another 4 or 5 people in that area, just kind of watching and making sure people are staying where they need to be.
I would think there would also need to be some traffic control on San Felipe
Yes,
going in and out, because
Yeah.
that's a lot of traffic.
but we'll let the police dictate what they'd like to do from the traffic control standpoint.
Sounds like you have it under control. Thank you for that. Any other questions?
We could call it controlled chaos.
It's fun chaos.
That's right.
No other questions?
Yeah,
Well,
one last question. So do you already have those positions filled, or have you reached out for, like, volunteers from the community to help out with that?
No, it will be manpower from other departments, so it'll be a combination of efforts to hold this event with the police department. The fire department will be active, recreational will have people there, and then we may get some groups involved, like Boy Scouts or something, to help out with the parking. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for that. Next item, appointments for the 2 vacant positions on the Airport Advisory Commission.
Yes, so adding to what you said before, the amended bylaws did allow for the filling of the 2 vacant positions. If we did not have applicants from inside the city, then the council could look to outside in the county for filling those positions. So we received 4 applications from inside the city. And so it's anticipated at this point that the positions will come out of those 4 candidates. I'm aware that the mayor's appointment is made, but it's not yet been confirmed by the entire council. So, but I believe she has an individual selected in her mind. And then Rick Perez's district, District 1, is the other vacancy. And so
You've received
we
4 within the city. Do you know how many we received from the county?
3. So there was a total of 7 applications received. And we do anticipate that both appointments will be presented to the full council for confirmation at the February 5th council meeting.
Do any other commissioners have any questions regarding that item?
So you're not considering the applicants from the county at all?
Well, so the bylaws, the language in there is that the intent is to fill the positions from within the city limit first, and then if that doesn't happen, then you consider outside from the county.
And in the past, we have not received enough city residents within the city limits that have applied. So I think that's why we changed, that is why we changed the bylaws. But it seems like now there's been more interest. So
Yeah.
the bylaws that do state in section 2.5, at least 3 members appointed by individual council members must be residents of the city of Hollister, with no more than 2 members being residents of the county of San Benito who can represent the Hollister Municipal Airport. Priority shall be given to applicants residing within city limits, and if no applicant exists, then the city council may consider applicants that are residents of the county of San Benito. So I think that actually means that if the residents of the city are not sufficient or not good candidates, then they can move to the county.
Yes.
So it sounds like they have 4 within the city, 3 within the county, and a decision cannot be made by the commissioners. It must be made by the 2 council members that do not have appointments, which is the mayor and Rick Perez from District 1.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Any other questions? All right, we'll move on to item G, which is the budget report.
Okay, so in the packet of information that I put at each of your positions there, you have a budget report there. So if you pull that out, what you're looking at, there is a budget report through December 31st, 2023. So we call it the Q2 budget monitoring exercise. If you go down through here, you can see various numbers here. There was nothing on our review that we thought was particularly glaring. Typically what you would do is you would go out to the outer column there, the percent remaining, and you should be, depending on the nature of the expenditure, you would expect that to be at 50% if you're tracking, if the expenditure is spread out throughout the whole year. But most of the expenditures that are above 50% are tracking because of the nature of the expense. So at this point, there's nothing that I see that I'm overly concerned with in terms of any particular expenditure item. And let's see. So I would call attention to there was 2 capital improvement numbers there. So the first one is the 212-4200-750050 for $812,000. That technically is the billings that we've received to date from Granite Rock on the current AIP project, the Runway 6 safety improvements. Those expenditures actually should not be being recorded to the enterprise fund, and so we'll be bringing that up with the finance department here in the mid-year budget discussion. And likewise, on the back side of that page, you have professional services account number 601-4200-730000. That is reading currently the fiscal activity is $719,000. That is professional services from the construction management and inspection contract. And so again, that's grant related, so most of those expenditures need to move with grant activity, should be recorded in a separate fund. So, and then the under the category 750 capital improvements, midway down on the same page, You have the $1 million in improvements. That's, again, that was expected to be demolition of the old military buildings and then also repaving of what they call the fire access road on the west side of the airport. And again, those are going to be on hold until we further verify our cash position. And then the machinery and equipment underneath that, that is where we did incur, that's the cost of the sweeper there, the $302,000. Gator cost is additionally about another $28,000 on there. And I think we've got one other piece of equipment, which is a replacement of a mower for the large tractor.
Do any commissioners have any questions regarding the budget report?
Yeah, on the reconstruction of taxiway A, you have a line item on here that says you're removing taxiway J pavement to eliminate direct access from the apron to runway 24. How did that line item come about? Was this a recommendation of Caltrans, the FAA?
FAA. Mm-hmm. So are you on the 5-year ACIP there?
What's that?
Are you looking at the 5-year ACIP or?
I'm looking at this. And it shows,
Yeah, you're on
looking at
the 5-year
ACIP.
ACIP,
Yeah.
so that's the next agenda topic. This is the budget discussion.
Right.
So,
We haven't got to that part of that's the next item on the agenda.
yes.
So if there are no questions on the budget report, I think we all need to review it a little closer. We didn't have a chance to.
Yep.
And so,
Yep.
does anyone want to bring this back at another meeting or review it? And if we think there needs to be an item, bring it forward to Jeff through email.
That would be fine.
I think we can review it. I do have one question, though. It seems there's one item that's operating in a negative, and that's the annual liability premium. Do we need to rebudget on that?
The annual liability premium.
601-4200735-002.
So that is one of the items that the finance department is posting. They posted the bills there. So there's supposed to be a combination between the Ambasia annual liability premium there and then the property insurance above that. So again, we'll get more information from the finance department as we do the mid-year budget here, whether that's did it just come in over, or is that they've miscoded that to the wrong account number.
Okay, that makes
Yep.
sense.
Any more questions on the budget report? All right, we'll move forward to the FAA Airport Improvement, the AIP 5-year Airport Capital Improvement Program, or the ACIP.
Okay. So let's talk about the nature of the first, kind of stepping back at a higher level. The ACIP is what's called Airport Capital Improvement Projects, which really, when you talk about airport capital improvement projects, it's a much bigger pot than just what you call Airport Improvement Program, which is funded and priorities of the FAA when they look at your facility. So in this case, this is a 5-year table that represents just the Airport Improvement Program grant projects from FAA. So this is what we would submit to FAA after having our annual discussion with them. So this list is always subject to change each year because it's depending on what's the priority and what's the funding. In this case, they're very well committed through 2026 with the reconstruction of the taxiway Alpha, which is our parallel taxiway to the main runway. So that is a very big and large, expensive project, large paving project. And then we do have, so there's airport improvement program funding from FAA for most of these projects, but you will notice that there is what they call bill money that was related to the Biden administration passed the infrastructure bill, and so the FAA refers to that just as bill money, and so that can be used for items not normally anticipated with your airport improvement program. And so, but still it's kind of a discussion and prioritization reflected or at least agreed to by FAA. So.
Is that bill money something that the airport or the city applies for?
No, in this case, because it was a presidential action where they passed the infrastructure bill, we are allotted, I think it's $159,000 each year under bill, which was for 5 years. And so we just have to demonstrate how we're going to use them, and FAA has to give us the nod of agreement with what we're proposing to use it for.
And is it something that if you don't use it per year, you don't get a new appropriation the next year?
Well, we have to spend the bill money. That's so I don't think we lose it. It's not like the AIP entitlements. If you bank your entitlements under AIP for more than 4 years, you start losing your entitlements. So, and our airport would be, our entitlement under FAA right now as a GA airport is $150,000 a year.
And is that every GA airport, or is it based on the county or the city?
It's $150,000 is the level of FAA entitlement under airport
Generally.
improvement program for all GA airports unless you are identified as a reliever airport, and that's a designation where you become an alternative to a commercial airport for an alternate landing spot. So at this point, we probably wouldn't get considered as a reliever.
Even if we have a service like CAL FIRE? Does that help in any way, or it doesn't?
That doesn't meet the definition of what they consider reliever, yes.
And that infrastructure funding, the 159, can you carry over part of it to the next year? Or,
Yeah, I think it's expending it in total as you go along.
okay. Any other questions on that item for I'm sure there are other pages we need to review, but
Really, it's what you have there behind it is
backup
just
for-
detail sheets, a little bit more detail of each of the projects, and these are the detail sheets that get signed and sent off to FAA, and then there's a diagram somewhere in this series of pages. So a couple of nice diagrams there of your airport and where the projects go and stuff.
do any commissioners have any questions, or do you want to bring this item back after you've had a chance to further review it?
To bring it back.
Okay.
Okay. Would we like to bring that back to the very next meeting, or would we like to just
The
look
very
at
next
it in the
meeting.
one?
Next meeting should be ample time
Okay.
to review this.
Yeah, right. Now, we are going to, we anticipate taking the 5-year table to the city council as part of the mid-year budget. So based on, I know you're just getting it, but based on this, if you have any immediate feedback that you would want us to pass along, maybe we should use the same option where you guys would email me some feedback and we can deal with it that way as well.
Does that work for the commissioners?
Yeah.
Great.
But again,
When does it go in front of the council?
I think we're looking at the mid-year budget exercise, probably the second meeting in February, so February 20th or something like that. And again, just so we're clear, the city council won't be approving this, they would just be receiving it as information, so.
Okay.
And providing feedback,
Mhm.
of course.
Yeah.
Do the commissioners have an opportunity to review the final budget before it's approved?
The final budget?
Well, I guess the final draft before it's approved, or,
So the fiscal procedure here will be that we're going through mid-year budget now, and so that kind of goes into March as we work through any of the stuff, but we'll go to the council with the mid-year budget. So any adjustments to what's existing here, and again, we'll do some of the cleanup of moving some of the grant activity out of being recorded in this fund. And then from kind of the end of March through June is where we'll actually start to prepare the next year's budget. So, and I would anticipate trying to get something to the commission for taking it to the council.
that's
We'll-
great.
we'll
I'm
go
just
from there.
thinking of if we're getting 2 new commissioners and they're not coming on board till next month, or next meeting,
Yeah.
which is next month, then they might want the opportunity to be able to review it with us so
Mhm.
that we can have a conversation about it.
But I would still anticipate bringing you just the quarterly review, so the next quarter would be at the end of March, we'd bring you the next expense budget, so you can just look at that and have it in your binders.
That works for me. Does it work for the commissioners?
Yeah.
Any questions? Any other questions regarding the AIP or the ACIP?
No, not that.
Thank you.
Okay.
So do the staff or the commissioners have any announcements or activities they would like to report out on? None?
Not me.
And any, would you like any, to add anything to the next agenda? So is it at this time that we add, what should be added to, we would like to be added to the next agenda?
Well, I heard that we're bringing back several of these items.
Right?
So I think the one item on the list so far that would come off would be,
Bylaws?
I would not bring back any update on the old military buildings unless there is an update to it. At this point, we're not proceeding until we can verify our cash position and know that we can fund it, so whether that be through grant or whatever. So I can bring that back when I have something more to give out in a report.
Would it be possible to leave it on the agenda and then just report on the status that we don't have a decision yet, so that we keep
Yes.
it on the agenda so we remember the things that we want to
Yes.
discuss? So let's leave item A, removal of the old military buildings.
Yep.
I would leave item B, the EAA building update.
Yep.
I don't think we need an airport maintenance update unless others feel like we should. I would say the 4th of July fireworks, yes. I would say an update on the appointments for the new commissioners, although they may be at that meeting.
Hopefully we'll
But
be
maybe we could
introducing
just
them.
say,
Mhm.
if there's 2 appointed, that we can introduce them. And then I don't think we need a budget report, but let's keep the AIP, ACIP on the agenda.
Yes, and what I would ask too is that if the commissioners go through the ACIP in detail, if you would email me your questions so that between myself and I may need to consult with the airport engineer in particular, because I was not a part of the discussions with FAA. This was before my time that established this priority. So, and to the nature of your question, it may be more technical, and so the airport engineers may need to help to provide an answer in response. So,
Do commissioners agree with the items being added to the next agenda, or do you have any other items? If you do think of items before the next meeting, just let Jeff know or myself, and then we can make sure they're added to the
yes,
agenda.
and what would be the pleasure of the commission? We had public comment, and there was a
Oh, yes.
suggested topic.
I would say let's do agendize the helipad for the Blackhawk, the concrete pad. Do we want to have a discussion about airport hangar rents and a survey and comparables from others? Does anyone want to add that item? I think it might be a good
Yeah.
item to
Yeah.
add.
Sure.
We certainly can have a discussion of that,
Okay,
because there's, surveys are not what meets the threshold for meeting FAA's expectations around fairness and our grant obligations, our sponsor obligations.
maybe
So-
just a report out from the airport director on what the process is.
Mhm.
That would be great.
Okay.
And then I don't think we need to add the item on no non-pilot crossing the runway. I think there is a procedure and policy that the airport director is putting in place for that. Airport staff may not be pilots, but they should be allowed to cross the runway to fix issues.
Mhm.
But I think the airport director, I don't know that you want to comment on that because it's not on the agenda, or do we agenda, but
Well, I will just say that it does exist in the rules and regulations that there's not supposed to be vehicles, there's not supposed to be bicycles or people walking on taxiways and runways. Those are aircraft surfaces. And so, without the express approval by the airport manager, so, yeah.
What about the recent runway incursion? Talk about that.
Yeah, we don't want to get too far into having a discussion about the item because it's not on the agenda. You could bring it back if you're not, if that's not the pleasure of the commission, then the public commenter could also just speak with the airport director about this himself. Would be another option.
what's the will of the commission? Do we want to agendize it?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess just a discussion of what the policy is surrounding who can and cannot cross the runways. Or be on the taxiways. You probably have a policy on that whole area. Do the commissioners have any other items they would like to agendize for the March meeting? Or the February meeting, sorry.
Are we gonna take into account, Mr. Starrett's request?
Those were the 3 that we were just talking about?
Yeah, was that it?
Yes.
Okay.
The Black Hawk concrete pad, the airport hangar rents, and the crossing of the
I
runways.
got 2 out of 3.
All right.
Not bad.
Any other items from commissioners to agendize? Okay. If there are no more items to agendize, we will, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn the meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Meeting adjourned at 6:50, I think. I can't see the clock. Looks a little fuzzy at this time of day.